Assassin's Creed has experienced highs, lows, and everything in between. It's a victim to Ubisoft's reskin addiction, and the presence of casual gamers keeps it that way. But a true curveball launched a decade ago with the release of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and if you were blessed enough to be there,
I am officially running.
You likely holed up in your room, shat in a bucket, and survived off of soda like I did. Forget Luffy and those other fuckers, this is the pinnacle of being a pirate. In this video, we'll go back in time to explore the lore, strengths, weaknesses, and every other aspect of Black Flag, besides the DLC. Without wasting any time, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's dive into it. The game begins with Edward Kenway, a deadbeat husband turned pirate who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. He gets shipwrecked next to an assassin who offers him money in exchange for help. Since Edward's a scummy, calcium deficient seaman, he tries to rob him, but bro said nuh-uh and runs away, leading to, yep, a tailing mission. The chase becomes a parkour tutorial where you pursue and catch him, stabby stab, and find a note promising compensation for delivering this item.
Senor Duncan Walpole, I accept your most generous offer and await your arrival with eagerness. If you truly possess the information we desire, we have the means to reward you handsomely. I believe I can recognize the costume made infamous by your secret order. Come to Havana in haste.
Edward then dons the outfit and borrows the name Duncan Walpole. He proceeds to save this walrus from Scraggletooths. They get to his ship and then set sail for Havana. Taking a brief pause, if you're familiar with Assassin's Creed, you'll know that each game is a simulation of that point in history.
This is all yours, so sit back, relax, and find us some good footage.
What do you think I'm doing? I didn't care about this a decade ago, it adds no substance, and it still sucks. So let's pretend, just for now, that it doesn't exist. Sound good? Cool. Let's move on. Kenway then docks in Havana with his new ally, Stede Bonnet, starts helping him with some shit, leading to the first realization that you're poor. Big sad. Edward does Edward things in Havana, which gets him recognized, but after pulling an Ip Man, the game introduces smoke bombs to help you escape. As useful as these can be, I not only immediately forgot about them for most of my playthrough, but then had the most pathetic escape attempt of my life. Skipping ahead, let's do what we came here for. Edward makes his way to the governor, where you get introduced to Woods Rogers and Julian Ducasse, who make you do pointless shit in order to introduce both guns and assassination techniques. After earning their favor, they lead you to Governor Torres, where you turn over the Allspark and get weirded the fuck out. What Edward doesn't know is that the identity he stole is of a former assassin turned Templar, and these fools are renowned Templars. Great. After being initiated as a Templar, Torres drops a bombshell that shifts the trajectory of Edward's life.
Decades ago, the Council entrusted me with the task of locating the observatory.
But the only way to find it is through a sage, someone who is reincarnated with the memories of his former lives. As it turns out, the Templars already caught him. Convenient. So you escort Roberts, get jumped by assassins, he escapes, you drop him, and then finally, Edward gets the reward he came all this way for.
God sink me for this pittance. 1,000 reals for those maps. I'd like to see this observatory the governor's going on about. And imagine what a thing like that'd be worth. Sell that to the right person and I'd be the richest pirate. Privateer in the West Indies.
With some liquid courage in his veins, Kenway decides to break into the plantation, where the sage is currently held, to shortcut his way to riches. But naturally, it doesn't work that way.
What is your true name, rogue?
Captain Piss Off. Wait now! I delivered your treasures, did not!
So yeah, he ended up being shackled and shipped like a Wayfare cabinet. However, Edward got chained next to ya boy, Adewale. Sharing the same wavelength, they tag team a way out, free fellow pirates, steal a ship, and fight to escape by the skin of their teeth. You're then forced to sail through a barrage of cannons, rogue waves, and water spouts. Pretty sick. Once the coast is clear, Edward's exhausted ass has a much-needed conversation with a man he escaped with.
I'm Edward. Much thanks for your aid back then.
Adewale.
I've made my choice at it. I'm calling her the Jackdaw. Did it rub you wrong when I took this brig as mine own?
I'll be your quartermaster, nothing less.
With all boxes checked, our pirate adventure has finally begun. But your quartermaster points out that you have a lot of work to do. Thanks to Adewale, the game takes you to a deserted island where hunting and crafting is introduced. So let's briefly cover them, as well as some upgrades and customization. Hunting and crafting is extremely straightforward. You can either shoot, stab, harpoon, or buy whatever animal or pelt you need to craft something. To upgrade guns and swords, you buy them. Outfits are either made, bought, or earned through side missions. easy. The jackdaw, however, is a different story, and boy does it get expensive. Thankfully, there's plenty of ways to make money, so let's name a few. For starters, by climbing towers and synchronizing at each location, you can see where everything is in the area. You can also loot bodies, do side missions, or the most effective method, piracy. Jumping ships with sugar and rum can help turn a fat profit, and items like metal, wood, and cloth can also be plundered for upgrades. To fully upgrade anything, certain treasure chests and ones like these will contain plans for ship parts, so treasure hunting is arguably necessary. We'll cover more in a bit, but for now, let's continue the plot. The game resumes in Nassau, or 18th century Skid Row, where you meet some old pirate buddies. We got
Ed Thatch, Ben Hornigold, James Kidd.
Later, Edward asks if they've heard of the observatory, but the only one who humors him is Kidd. Suspicious? Edward then kills Duckass, remember him, to take both his ship and private island. Here we're introduced to Mayan stones and Templar keys, which can be collected around the map to get drippy. Great Anagua plays an integral role in the remaining narrative, and you can upgrade and customize it with heaps of doubloons. But what happens next is where things get weird. James says to meet him here in a few weeks, where you have to sneak your way past an entire island of assassins. Their leader confronts you, because Edward sold them out to Templars, yet allows him in their temple for some answers?
I must be certain.
A bit of traversing and puzzles later leads to...
You're certain it's him?
Aye, it's the eyes that mark him.
Yep, that's Roberts, not Rogers, Sage Boy. After confirming their faces match with leader guy, we discover that Edward's crew and the assassins have been captured. Anyway, you save them, but they still hate him. Oh well. Fast forwarding a bit, we meet Captain Vane and this dumbass capture a fort where the governor is, and threaten tourists to find the sage. Wait, hold on a sec. Yes, there are sea forts, and they're fucking scary. Not only do you get fat stacks from conquering one, but if you think forts are scary, wait until you meet 20,000 reals? Alright, fine. So anyway, Kidd is a woman, you find Roberts, briefly, Blackbeard becomes obsessed with improving Nassau, and Homeboy becomes a pirate. I love it! The diving bell is then introduced, which can be used to explore several hidden areas throughout the world. Additions like this makes me miss when Ubisoft wasn't just a money-hungry shit stain. But what can you do? Thatch's desperation for Nassau leads you into some shitty situations, until he eventually decides to retire. Some of you might be wondering why I haven't mentioned Anne Bonny yet, but don't worry, I didn't forget. She's a fellow pirate who's crucial to the narrative, and while you're talking to her, shit goes down.
Jesus.
Edward investigates, only to find that the Templar from earlier, Woodes Rogers, is relaying a message from the King of England. If they surrender the land to the crown, they could be pardoned for their crimes as pirates. While Hornigold takes the bait, Vane and Kenway say fuck that and blast away through the British blockade. Nassau has fallen, but at least they're alive. After Kenway's allies call out his greed for the observatory, he makes his way to Thatcher's retirement party, only for death to rain down like Sodom and Gomorrah. In pure desperation, Edward narrowly reaches the jackdaw, fights his pursuers, and helplessly watches Blackbeard atone for his sins. You then get betrayed and left for dead.
Keep still now. I'll take these oysters you've ordered.
This island's crawling with food if only you'd care to look for it. Jesus, you've lost your head, man! Listen, Vane, we can hunt with those guns.
And I made so!
Damn fucking knave, Vane!
Eventually, Adewale and Kidd come to your rescue, and the pursuit of Roberts continues.
I'm close.
With Hornigold now a Templar and two of his friends dead, Edward finds and teams up with Roberts to find the observatory. After doing the sage's bidding and killing Ben, the time has finally come. Clearing a way to the observatory, the sage opens the doors, kills all witnesses, and leads you to the crystal skull. Using someone's blood, this device can track where and what that person is doing anywhere in the world.
Precious tool, you see.
Naturally, Edward is being used, so Roberts leaves him for dead. Though he narrowly escapes, it's no use.
Have you ever seen the inside of a Jamaican prison, boy?
Fast forwarding to the gallows, Anne and Kidd are about to be hanged.
God in his infinite be merciful to each of your souls!
We're pregnant! Do you all hear that?
Aye, you can't hang a woman quick with child, can ye?
Round of applause, everyone. That's some great... Wait, they're actually pregnant? Imprisoned, tortured, and at the end of the line, there's nothing left to do. Until...
Oi! You stop that!
I have come for Anne and Mary, and you owe me nothing for this.
You team up to save Mary and Bonnie, but sadly, it's too late. At the bottom of the bottle, Kenway reflects on his transgressions and has an intoxicated trip, until your boy, Adewale, finds him passed out in broad daylight. With a healthy shift of paradigm, Edward helps the assassins, gets a new quartermaster, hunts his enemies, returns the skull, receives a letter from England, and offers his base to the assassins as refuge. Deciding to settle down, he asks Anne to join his voyage back home. Though denying him, Bonnie encourages this new life, as an English ship slowly enters Inagua's harbor. With Anne's lovely song, Edward steps forward and embarks on his next journey of life with his daughter. He didn't even know he was a dad. Together they sail back to England, where we learn that his wife had passed years ago. Taking responsibility, Kenway becomes a father he never was, and leaves his old life behind. I'm not crying, you're crying. If you're still following along, I'm going to briefly cover the rest of Black Flag, starting with some strengths and weaknesses. For starters, sea shanties.
Hey, jigga, jigga, ha, ha. Good morning, ladies. My love, she came. And we're waiting for the day, waiting for the day, waiting for the day that we get our pay.
The world is also sizable, elaborate, and beautiful even by today's standards. It's been 10 years, yet I'm fairly satisfied with details like physics, platforming, and graphics. But there are some specifics of note. While the parkour isn't as good as, say, Dying Light, Black Flag is very simplified and intuitive. Pressing forward and running while looking in a certain direction is most of it. So you only jump manually when necessary. Is it counterintuitive at times? Buggy? Annoying? Sure, but it's passable. Assassinating is also straightforward, and so are the Batman-esque fighting mechanics. However, it's very annoying that you can't crouch whenever you want to. Sure, it's easy to jump in a bush, blend in with your surroundings, or behind a corner, but it occasionally feels dated. Thankfully, sleep darts, pistols, smoke bombs, hired guns, and women are all additional tools at your disposal, and the NPCs usually have extra chromosomes. Speaking of NPCs, they're either very dumb or too smart. I can easily jump anyone that isn't looking, but if I'm being pursued, they'll often magically find me. This does force you to approach each area methodically, however, so it's still fun to exploit. I'd also like to point out that there are cheats in Black Flag, but I subjectively think they diminish the game. Feel free to comment if you disagree.
Go kill yourself.
But that's just my bias talking. There's also an interesting bonus content, and the multiplayer is terrible. How I was able to get into a full lobby immediately boggles my mind. It's dog shit. Last but not least is my view of the story. While I appreciate the depth of each character, their motives, fates, and roles in the narrative, I can't give it higher than an 8 out of 10. Similar to other titles in the franchise, there's pointless repetition that can make some things hard to care about. I'm not asking for simplification, but rather for more reasons to care. While Adewale, Mary, Steed, and Thatch are solid and compelling characters, your enemies leave room to desire, especially the Sage. At the time of release I loved it, but that's just how I feel about it. With all that being said, if you agree, disagree, or have anything you'd like to add, feel free to share in the comments below. I had a blast playing this game after so many years, so I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.